The team at The Grout Guy are leading experts in regrouting, waterproofing and tiling services nationwide. Property managers find comfort in their 10-year waterproof warranty on all full shower regrouts. Visit thegroutguy.com.au to rejuvenate your property's tiles and grout now. Today we have the ladies from Arana House joining me for it's actually a podcast, but also a little bit of a webinar, because I'm not sure how I'm entirely going to be using the content, so I'll disclose that first. But I have been working with Arana House for, how long do you reckon it's been now?
3 years, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so for 3 years, and we're approached, obviously, in the midst of the rental crisis, where the work that you guys do was becoming a very sensitive situation for lots of different reasons. Sensitive because there was maybe an increase in DV, sensitive because it was a housing crisis, lots of different reasons. So that's sort of how we got in touch with each other and started doing work together for the industry. So I've had a lot of inquiries from other property managers, other investors, other landlords, all sort of wanting to know a little bit more about philanthropic investing, how their agencies can work. Like, there's so many things that we're going to cover in today's chat to help, whether you are an investor or whether you are a property manager or real estate business owner, understand the process and maybe, understand how we can all work with purpose, which is quite an important thing, I think, in any industry that you do. So welcome.
Thanks, Ash. I mean, I think it was divine intervention probably that sent you our way 3 years ago. It's been incredible how much you've helped us to keep the momentum going and growing for this program. So thanks for having us.
Thank you. And it's hard, isn't it, to keep the motivation continuing sometimes when it can be a bit of a slow process, but it's such an important process as well. And, so well done for you guys for keeping that momentum going up as well. So to give you a bit of a background before we start getting into some questions. So from a personal point of view, I help Arana with promoting impact agents in WA. Impact agents, actually, I'll let you maybe describe what impact agents are. So that's the first part of how I try to help Arana. The second part is under SOCO having a philanthropic portfolio, which is where we encourage landlords, if they are in the position to be able to put their property through for the Housing Families Project, which is where they're sort of accepting a tenancy on less than market rate and prioritising those survivors first. And then there is also trying to support the clients of you, which is the survivors of DV, also getting into the rental market. So there's a couple of different facets of this, which I'll try and keep simplified. But let's start off just by talking a little bit about impact agents. So this is relevant for property managers that are listening or watching. Impact agents, how have they played a part with Arana House and the housing project?
So the impact agents, it can mean quite a few different things, and that just really depends on your capacity. Some agents make a financial contribution. It's about $2,600 a year, and that's fully tax deductible. That works out to a $50 a week rent top-up for an eligible young family. Some agencies choose to contribute even more, which is absolutely wonderful. And then there are other impact agents who play a really active role. So what they do is they register with us directly any suitable and affordable properties, and they also allow a priority viewing for the families that we're supporting. That means they get to have a look before, the queues turn up and the overwhelm. And in turn, Arana House offers free tenancy training to the clients, as well as FDV training to the property managers themselves, so that they're really FDV informed, and then everyone involved can work together for a really successful outcome. It's I suppose, just about helping these families to navigate a really challenging market. There are so few suitable properties out there, but these families really, really deserve that look in, because it's easing the burden on refuges, the bottlenecking that's happening, because we're putting forward families who are really housing ready. They don't need to be in refuge anymore. They're safe and ready to rebuild. So as long as we can connect them with an understanding property manager and a fantastic owner, landlord, then everyone succeeds.
We had such a big misconception, didn't we, at the very start? And I think there was a survey that was done, which was what property managers were the most nervous about with taking on a family that had gone through this. And the stats, I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot asking you what they are because I can't remember, but it wasn't a huge amount, like 80% of property managers and landlords thought that the perpetrator would return and it would be at risk, but there was actually no evidence to back up that had been their experience.
It was something really small. I think it was about 9 or 10% actually had a bad experience, but not with the woman. And from that, we're basically just flipping it. Sorry, I'm just going to
move that forward to your mouth a little bit more. No, bring it to your mouth like that a little bit more.
Okay.
Move it around. All around. Yep, that's it. Perfect. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
First podcast, so I'm getting lessons on this while we go. So, so basically when we done the research, we were just trying to flip the thinking. We were like, yeah, you might have this perception, but where has it actually come from and why do you have this? And then when we broke it down, we were like, there's actually no reason for you to have this perception. So let's give it a crack, see how we can help each other out. And we've kind of just gone from there. And going back to people having a bad experience, we've been housing people for maybe since I've come on board, so about 1.5 years, 2 years now, we've not had any incidents, nothing at all. We've had 2 failed tenancies, but I wouldn't even call them failed. One was where she got her Department of Housing house, which that was her goal. That was what she wanted. Another was we did a shared tenancy and it just didn't work out because they both needed their own space. And if that's the tenancies that didn't work out, if that's the only thing that we've had, then I'm really happy with that.
Oh, that happens in everyday property management life with everyone else. So that's definitely not what I would consider a failed tenancy at all. So, and it's great now that we've got the stats to show that. It probably does help. Are you finding that's helping a bit more?
Definitely, yeah. And it's all about just flipping people's thinking and their perception and being like, this can actually be a really positive thing. These women, they're after spending so much time in refuge or they've been displaced and been with friends and family. When you view them as a tenant, they really want somewhere where they can settle. They want their kids to go to school. They want to get back into the community. They want to make roots somewhere. They're a really good tenant. They want to be there long term and they want their house to be their haven for themselves and their children. So in that sense, they are a really good tenant. There's you don't need, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. Everything's gone. They're moving forward.
Absolutely.
So back 3 years ago, the biggest pain point was that we had massive home opens, 40, 50 people coming through. We had a vulnerable, lady generally coming through the property and obviously divulging all their personal details, like it would have been really, really hard for them. And that was the pain point at the time. But now that the rental market has eased off a little bit, are we finding there's another pain point with them? Like I haven't actually probably asked you how that's sort of going in the last couple of months.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I love contractors that work really well with property managers, and West Oz Trades are proudly Perth-owned and operated, servicing the Perth metro area for all air conditioning and refrigeration requirements in the residential and commercial sectors. We use them in our business. They are great to deal with, and if you are looking for someone to service and install your air cons in Perth, give the team at West Oz Trades a call.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I would say that the pain point is probably still, there's a lot of misconception that we're still battling. And, family domestic violence, FDV, can look like a lot of different things. It can look like being under coercive control and financial abuse for a very long time and being extremely isolated. And so having trauma-informed care through our program, someone who walks alongside you, understands how it might be really difficult to navigate, the online applications or, the paperwork, the minefield that goes with it all, and then going to a very crowded home open still, can feel really frightening. So I think it's also about being able to have a really human conversation with a property manager directly to explain this is who I am and this is why I might have an absence of rental history. doesn't make me a bad tenant. I can show you that I'm going to love this like it's my forever home if you will give me that chance. So I suppose it's really just about, bringing a bit of humanity into that space. And like you talked about at the beginning, working with purpose, it's what keeps us going. And I think, for people in your industry, Ash, when you feel that you're working with purpose and you're helping a young family to rebuild and start a new chapter in their life, you're going to enjoy your work a lot more too.
Yeah, totally. Do you also remember talking about the human connection? And we did do some education around this. And this is, I guess, to the audience listening, this is an example of why education forms such an important part, because I remember the applications were coming through, and as property managers, we have such an automated application process. So the back end, if we're receiving 20 applications, we could see that the affordability rates, it sort of came up with like a red flag or a green flag. And then a lot of property managers would shortlist based on that. And your clients just would not be able to get a shoe in if that's how a property manager was doing it. But if the property manager had taken the time to go through each individual one, it would have been different. But to back up the property managers in this situation, they sort of didn't really have the time. I mean, to have 100 applications a day, like they had to have some sort of efficiency, which was very human-centric, and we had to sort of educate you guys to say, this is what a property manager's looking on the back end, this is the problem. And we then spoke about how that could be improved and little things, I guess, like the families bringing it to our attention at a home open or speaking and things like that. I don't know, was there anything else that we had to change there?
No, and that was really helpful for us because I'm not from a space from real estate at all, and I'm still learning. So now we really take the time to sit down with the women and do the applications together. There's actually so much of them, and navigating things like My Tenant app, and it is difficult, and it does come up with a little red flag. And I don't know if it goes through like some sort of an AI system and maybe it doesn't actually reach even getting shortlisted. So I think they're falling through the gaps. So what we've done now is take the time, make sure it's actually done correctly, not giving anyone more work. None of us want any more work. We're really busy. And then we'll always just flick an email to the agent and just say, can you just look out for this person? And getting them to give us feedback as well. We've got lots of feedback, and that helps me work better with the women and giving the women feedback so that if they aren't successful for this property for whatever reason, they're more prepared for the next one. And it just makes everything more smoother. And it can work then in the long run, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the training that you would do with the tenants? Like what sort of things are you giving them extra support on to help them have a successful tenancy?
Oh, it varies so much. So I might have someone who is just able to do the whole thing themselves. They just basically need a bit of advocacy as to why they haven't got 2 years rental history, why their last address was a PO box, things like that. But then I will have, say, someone who's from another country, not really speaking English. They've not been in Australia long. They'll need a lot of help with the online stuff. With liaison with the property manager so that it's just clear communication, even simple things like setting up your utilities and making sure that you have, and your rent as well. A lot of, we have like Property Me and just making sure that it's like a reoccurring payment, getting them all set up on that so it's smooth. Because it's really easy to just fall into arrears like that so we're doing all of those kind of things with them. And then a whole load of practical support like furniture and no two families are the same.
We forget the simple things like setting up the rent and all of that, where a property manager just says, pay your rent on time and pay it every week or every fortnight. And we do forget those basics. And there's actually so many people that don't even know how to use online banking. And I guess if I think about it with your families, they might have had financial control. So maybe they've never had access to paying bills. We actually forget about that. So those listening, this is like what these types of things are what I want you to take away. Like these people, may never have paid a bill in their life, don't understand what the risk is of paying late. What happens? Do you get phone calls, SMSs, breaches? It's so simple, we forget it.
Yeah.
But it is one of those things that if it is on your radar, it's actually easy to fix.
Yeah.
It's easy to teach someone. It is well within reach.
Yeah.
But you need to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's the first step. So, that's
Yeah,
why
definitely. If you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, it is an easy fix, but I mean, like, it snowballs really quick. So that's why we like to just be in there and make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We I've got another podcast I told you guys about with a lady from St. Pat's going in a few weeks, and as you were saying, you know, how things can snowball quickly. What we'll be talking about is how like people let things snowball out of touch and then don't actually reach for that help, you know, for 6 months or 12 months, where the benefit of the families coming through you guys is that it never gets to that point in the first place.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd really tip my hat to this woman to the right of me. She's so proactive, and our other caseworker as well. They are just across it all, and they maintain really great connection with these women. They share their successes. They follow them on that journey. I think you went and had dinner at one of the houses a little while ago, and you know, it goes all the way through that first tenancy. You know, supporting them through employment programs that we run at Arana House, and all of the other things that go with it. You know, counselling for the kids as well as for the mums. There's a lot to that recovery and healing, and as soon as you've got a stable roof over your head, you can get on with all of those important things. But you need that house first.
Yeah.
So important.
So important, and the biggest part of it. So we talked about sort of the impact agents. So we talked about how an impact agent can contribute $2,600 per year. That can help with top ups. So there's an affordability limit that I find a lot of the families have. So that helps obviously with the cost of living and the cost of rents going up, which between us, I do feel like it'll get to a point where it'll come backwards again. So that'll be great for you guys.
Good to hear.
It's just like, I feel like it's just a couple of years that we're just having to go through that sort of that peak. But back in 2014, it went backwards 30%. So I feel like that will stabilise a bit. I've already seen signs of it stabilising, which is good. So you've got there might be like businesses, for example, like let's just use my business, for example, where we're in more of an affluent area and we don't necessarily get a lot of stock, you know, that we can give to you guys because properties are $1,000 a week, for example. But we can definitely financially provide a impact agent donation, which we do each year. Then there'll be companies that maybe financially can't or don't want to provide, but they've actually got the houses available. So they're working in those areas where they do have suitable properties for these families, and that is the way they can help. So that's the second thing. And you know, I always say that you can always donate your time, property, or money, basically. Yeah. So if you don't want to donate your money and you don't have any stock available, then there could be other ways that you can help. Maybe that could be creating a fundraising event. Maybe that could be having a cash for cans out the front for donations. Like, I think thinking outside the square for a lot of people is really important. And I think as well, remembering that there are so many options to help, and every single person has the ability to help in some sort of capacity. It doesn't have to be financial. It doesn't have to be with property. There can be other things. So that's like, I do try to rant on about that, but it's so true.
Please do. Bang on. And look, one other thing, you know, obviously the financial donation and the rental properties help immensely, but every real estate agent and property manager I know has an extraordinary network. You know, you're people, right?
Yeah.
You meet a lot of people, you know a lot of people. So if you don't have the property, if you don't have the capacity for a financial donation, I'm pretty sure you've got an incredible sphere of influence that you could use and leverage to make that difference. And, you know, as you mentioned earlier, look, if you've got any if you have any capacity, then there's a responsibility as well, which I think is, you know, if we want to live and work in a thriving, connected and safe community, which I'm sure we all do, that means we can't be turning our backs on the most vulnerable people that are within it. And, you know, it's important to remember, for every woman who comes to Arana seeking our help, there's on average 2 young children. And these families come from every single socio-economic demographic, like from the eastern suburbs right through to the Golden Triangle, and even in the regions where there's even less services. And these kids, they go to school with ours. These women, they're our neighbours, they're our friends, and actually, statistically speaking, there's 3 of us here at this table. It could be any one of us, you know, 1 in 3. So that's why we've got to use that sphere of influence to talk about FDV. It is happening in our backyards, no matter what postcode we're in. And look, I think real estate agents, property managers, you can do so very much through that word of mouth. And, you know, a lot of our impact agents, that's what they do on top, and it's the cherry on the cake. Apart from the donation, apart from the rental properties, they also share their positive experiences. Lisa Gorman's a great example. You know, they tell other agents, they say, oh, look, I've got these fantastic tenants. Everything is going beautifully. You know, it's the kind of woman who wouldn't have had a look in anywhere else. But look how well she's doing, you know, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Just share those positive stories. There's so much negativity and stigma that we're still battling. But all of these women, once they've been supported through refuge and into their own property, they are thriving and succeeding. And these are the stories we need to hear. That's what keeps us working with purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I love and the feel-good stories. We need it because it can be a heavy topic, it can be quite dark, really upsetting, but you can share positive stories as well, you know, and it's really important. It's important for, like, if you want to look at the aspect of impact agents, really important, sharing the positive stories, getting more people on board, that word of mouth. It's excellent for us. It means we can help more families. But as well, for anyone that's experiencing FTV, it's really important to hear a positive story. If you know that there is support out there and that you can make it and these other women have made it, you won't feel so alone and you might be able to make them steps towards leaving. It's really important that we share that. You know, really
you need
important.
to see that there's a better way, that there's a brighter path and it's possible. It gives you courage.
Yeah, and we're here and you won't walk alone. Yeah.
And as property managers, like, we are the ones in these people's homes constantly, so we can also see if there is something happening. And for business owners listening, you know, understand that important role that property managers have got with being in those homes, which is probably a place where a lot of people don't get access to see. So it's and you know, talking about Lisa as well, like, as a business, we have selected Lisa as the person to handle the philanthropic clients. For a few reasons. Number one, for the maturity. Number two, for the consistency. I think as a business owner, I want people to understand that getting involved, be mindful of that, and having the same person going in their homes. You might be a property manager that outsources inspections, which is also a great option, but with these families, just be mindful that it might be nice to have that consistent face for them. And even remember, this came up the other day and I actually didn't think about it, but it's definitely something that we've implemented, is even making sure, like, that we've got a female handyman, female plumber, female electrician.
Oh, yeah, I met some of your fabulous trades partners at that last PM Collective event. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and just things like this. It's those little things, I think, that should be mindful for real estate agents to know and have access to sort of help support these families. But again, like with Lisa, like from a business point of view, she's working with purpose. So she has difficult properties, and she, you know, as property managers do, they can sometimes have hard days, but knowing that she's actually working with these families is definitely the brightness of her job, and hopefully keeps her with me longer, but keeps her looking ultimately after your clients. So it's things like that. It's good just to understand the behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really great point, actually, because I think a lot of business owners and managers underestimate how much we all want to work for an ethical company. And, you know, there are other ways to incentivise staff and motivate them. But if you know you're working for a company that's values aligned, it does inspire loyalty, I think.
I didn't realise the impact of that until recently, where last year we sent emails out to our clients asking them if they would like to buy a hamper for their tenants for Christmas. And we use, oh my gosh, I wish I remembered it before I started this story. And some of your clients, some of your families actually work for them.
Metal,
yes.
Metal. I knew straight away. We love them.
Love it. I think actually I probably got introduced to them from you. They're so good. And it's an ethical company. They had a really great promotion where for every box you ordered, they would provide one to the families. So I think we had about 200 boxes that we had purchased for our clients. And so when we sent out the email to the owners to say, listen, if you have had a great experience with your tenant and would like to purchase them a Christmas gift, this is the one we're suggesting. I think it was like $88. I thought was pretty reasonable price. And then, we said to them, if you haven't had a great experience with your tenant, then feel free just to ignore the email. The response was huge. We had so many owners want to take up us organising that for them, but the responses from the owners to say, thank you for being such an ethical company, or things like loving your purpose, loving the way that you guys do things. And not that I was doing it for that, but getting those responses, I was like, maybe that was a good move.
Oh, amazing. So much better than a bottle of wine.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, what Metal has done, we've been partners with them for 5 years. And so not only do they employ and upskill our women, they produce these gorgeous, ethical, sustainable gift hampers. And, we've gifted them to the property owners in our program as well. And, it's just that little tangible reminder that you're part of a big picture together. We're all chipping away, doing our little corner of something that means so much to this woman and her children at the centre of it all. It's got that ripple effect, and it's really quite profound. I love it.
Yeah, and that's just exactly another example. If you are not able to, contribute financially or energy or property, even something like using metal is something that you could do in your business starting straight away that will cost you nothing, but you're just using a company. Maybe it's for client gifts, sales gifts, things like that. It's just, I guess, to get that thinking around, who can be in your network to help this community. So many options.
People love to help.
Yeah.
They really do. If you give them the opportunity, they really do. So after we had that, we did a piece with ABC News, just speaking about the challenges of the rental market. And we had so many online inquiries from private landlords being like, yeah, we have this property. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it. In really great areas. I mean, they could have got fantastic rent for them, but they wanted to be able to provide it to a family, and it's because that opportunity was created for them because we let them know. Then that's what happened.
I remember one of those ones, I think, was that beautiful place in North Perth made this beautiful character home. It was like, oh my gosh.
Stunning.
A lucky family that got that one for a really good price.
Property Assist understand that business owners are rapidly expanding their rental portfolios and property managers simply can't handle everything on their own. Property Assist are now offering outsourcing in Western Australia, New South Wales, South Australia and Queensland, and can help your team with all their ingoing reports, outgoing final bond inspections, routine inspections, 360 tours, home opens and inventory reports. Find them on your socials.